I'm Elia Locardi. Join me as I travel through Kentucky and see its beauty through my lens. This is Kentucky in Focus. Kentucky's Red River Gorge is a system of canyons located inside the Daniel Boone National Forest. With its vast acres of impressive wilderness and hiking trails, it has become a must-see destination for all who visit Kentucky. It also has over 100 natural arches, shaped over millions of years by the Red River. One of the most famous arches, Princess Arch, is also one of the easiest to access. From the parking lot and the trailhead, it's only a quarter-mile hike. A nice thing about hiking in Red River Gorge is that the trails are very well marked. Not just from the trailheads themselves, but also on the route, you'll notice different things on the trees. On this one in particular, there's some white diamonds that let you know you're staying on the path. Short hike, here we are, Princess Arch. First thing I want to do is find somewhere to put my bag down, get the camera out and start scouting for the best position and the best place to take a shot. So being that I'm so close to this arch, I'm going to use a wide angle lens. I'm also going to zip my bag back up because spiders really like my camera bag. I have no idea why. Let's go back to the beginning of this reveal of Princess Arch. From here, I feel like we have the best view of the arch. We have a nice leading line, a big section of it right here on the right, leading all the way through the left side of the frame, ending in this very dead tree right here. So it's kind of a neat composition. So anywhere right around here, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of scout a few things. Somewhere between wide and medium. So if I'm looking at the camera settings, somewhere between 14 millimeter to 24 millimeter is a really nice spot to be. So something like this. What's fun with a shot like this too is how you can transform the perspective by just getting closer to the rock itself. So if I get really close here, I can actually utilize some of this, even this green foliage here and the shape of the rock. If I get really comfy in here and shoot a little wider, it may look awkward, but I can end up with something like this. So something like that's a little bit more dramatic. So maybe I'll find something right in the middle of the two. So emphasize the wide angle, the leading lines of the rock for something like this. Perfect. The lighting's pretty consistent today. It's pretty cloudy, so I'm not really concerned about it changing. It's pretty much going to be the same for the rest of the day. And since these arches are in the woods, it's hard to really know how they're going to look during sunrise and sunset because they're always in partial shade from the canopy. So in this case, I have no shadows and I also have a clean, flat light. And the best thing about it right now is I'm the only one here. So I'm gonna quickly grab my tripod and get the shots that I need. This looks pretty good. Light's still a little bit flat, but it's still a very beautiful photograph. But I'm gonna wait here for another hour. I think some light is gonna come through from this direction, and if it does, it's going to put some nice soft light on the arch itself.
Another popular attraction in the Red River Gorge is the abundance of climbing spots. I met up with climber and adventure photographer Mike Wilkinson to learn more.
Well, it certainly is beautiful out here. When did you decide to move to Kentucky?
About 3.5 years ago.
How's the climbing culture out here?
The climbing culture out here is like a community for sure. We either go climb together or we hang out and get drinks or go hiking together. So it's very much a community.
That's great. So climbing is a little bit different than photographing climbers. So
Yeah.
how does that work? Because you kind of have to climb yourself and set up the shots ahead of time.
You do. Part of the trick to photographing rock climbing is understanding, I think, the movement of climbing a little bit, understanding the aesthetics of the rock too. Maybe there's an interesting feature that you want to show off. So maybe if you're going to shoot more of a landscape, you can back off a little bit and show off like this beautiful rock wall, which we have plenty of. And then you put the climber, somewhere along that route on the wall. But if you want to get really close, then it becomes really important that you understand like the dynamics of climbing and the movement. So when they go to like make this really hard move and you get all this emotion in their face, you're set up in the right spot and you're click, 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 and you nail it.
I feel like technically you're doing a lot in one photograph. You have a landscape, you might have a person, and that might even turn into something like a portraiture. So the setup must be a lot different.
Going into doing the photograph, you got to think about a couple things. You know, what's the placement of this image? Is it going to be for a guidebook? Does a magazine need an action shot? The answer to those questions, I think, will kind of impact the way I would approach the shoot, because doing more of a landscape is going to be a completely different setup than doing more of an action type thing. My personal favorite style is to back away and shoot it more like a landscape, because I really love, like, you know, water streaks that run over like orange rocks, and you have these big black and purple streaks that go along it. What's really tricky for that is finding a good point of view, finding like that lookout or that outcropping, that break in the trees where you can see that rock cliff with those features, and then get that climber up there and put them in the frame.
So it would be landscape first and your positioning overall, and then you can start honing in on what the most important subject of that photo is going to be.
Yes, I'd say so. I mean, it definitely matters where the line is for the climb. Because you can do like a tight shot of someone pulling on a tight crimp, and if you're top down shooting that and you're shooting that with like a 50 mil, that could kind of be anywhere.
Right.
But, you know, when you shoot across the gorge, and if there was like a climbing route up that crack on that buttress over there, I mean, that would be a phenomenal shot in the right light.
That's true, that's true. So a lot of thought, a lot of scouting, and a lot more planning for everything.
Yeah, drones make it easier sometimes.
Yeah, I do love flying cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. Get it? Gorgeous.
Aha.
Are you excited your screening's coming up in a couple hours?
I'm extremely excited, a little nervous, but it's gonna be awesome. It just got accepted into the Banff Mountain Film Festival, and I think the subject matter is just really kind of unique. When you think of Kentucky, you don't think of ice climbing. It's sort of like these icicles form, and I mean, there's a waterfall around every holler all up and down the Daniel Boone, so as long as it's cold enough, there's amazing ice climbing here. And that's what that documentary kind of focuses on, but also just some of the characters and locals who, you know, go out and search day after day looking for it.
Another impressive location in the Red River Gorge is the Gorge Grotto, a system of caves underground. The Thrillsville Adventure Tours are a great way to explore these caves while navigating your very own kayak.
How do we get started?
Well, first thing we're gonna do is we'll grab us a helmet.
Okay.
And then we're gonna grab us a PFD, personal flotation device. And after that, we'll meet by the paddle rack and we'll get going.
What is the most fashionable helmet you have?
I like the maroon ones. They don't give me a headache. Turned out.
I'll take a maroon one then.
Better with the hair in the back.
What's the temperature in the cave?
It stays 50, 55 year round. The water temperature stays between 37 and 40.
So I'm gonna avoid falling in the water?
Yeah, that's one of the things we go over when we get to the paddling rack. A few little things to keep the water off you. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Real careful try. There we go.
All right.
So this is our 4th year doing kayak tours through here. One of the first things you're gonna notice is our fish. We've stocked this with about 100 rainbow trout total.
Really?
Yeah, there's no natural food source for them in here. The limestone's an amazing filtering agent. It alkalinizes the water.
And you said this is spring water here?
Yeah, this is naturally fed. We have water reservoirs above us that when it rains, it stores in certain areas and then it seeps through the limestone and limestone filters it. It's also the first ingredient in Kentucky bourbon whiskey.
Well, I definitely appreciate that water then. 'Cause I do like the bourbon.
A lot of bourbon in Kentucky. And we got some beautiful cave vandal artwork.
Every time I see graffiti on rocks, I just think, why?
Yeah, I tell you the same thing. You're in that back in that area, you can reach up with your hand and touch the ceiling. Also, as you go through, keep an eye out all the shiny stuff on the ceiling in some of these areas, especially in these side rooms. That's pyrite.
Pyrite.
Fool's gold. Well, we have arsenal pyrite, full silver, and iron sulfate pyrite, fool's gold.
How easy would it be to get lost down here?
If you traveled out into the center of the mine, it would be really easy. It's like a maze in the center. Now that water that's up ahead of us you hear running, that's one of the natural springs, the one that still runs in here. Here recently, the drought that we was going through, that was the first time in the 4 years that we've been doing these tours that our springs dried up. Took one day of rain and get back going again.
Just one day of rain to get going again.
Some of our guides, when the water is running like this, they'll bottle it up and drink it. It really is good, really good water. Now you notice the ceiling's getting a little closer to you?
Yeah, starting to get a little more claustrophobic.
Do you like to sing?
I've been told by my wife not to.
Well, down
For
here,
everybody else's sake.
this will make anyone sound like an angel. I sing solo. Me and Todd, we sing solo. It's just so low you can't hear us. Yeah.
There are any songs about bourbon?
Not that I know of.
There should be.
Amazing.
Row, row, row your boat gently through the flooded mine. Howl. Let's try a howl.
We'll try howling. All right, you all ready? On the count of 3, we'll howl. 1, 2, 3.
Oh! That sounds great.
One of the tricks in here, though, when you, if you was to like get lost and you had your light, work your way to the higher ceiling. That means you're near an entry or an exit point.
That's good to know. So relaxing. Didn't get lost in a cave today.
I really enjoyed that tour, and I highly recommend getting in a kayak and enjoying it for yourself. Now, it's time to get another workout in as I hike to one of the most beautiful views in Kentucky.
There are so many beautiful places to photograph around here, but by far, I think my favorite is the view from Natural Bridge. I like to hike up, and that's a half a mile, but if you don't feel like hiking, you can also take the gondola and save some time. I prefer to hike. It gives me a chance to get to know the environment and find the best places to photograph. And the path towards Natural Bridge has a really fun, narrow staircase as well. I wonder what happens when you encounter traffic in here. Pretty sure it's one way only. Oh yeah, right. Made it. Oh, you know, just a few hundred stairs. And welcome to Natural Bridge. Right now I'm walking across Natural Bridge, and off to this direction, the view is already incredible. But I'm gonna follow the path around a little bit more and see what it looks like from that ridge over there.
Even though it may look far away, the walk to the overlook only takes 5 minutes.
Natural Bridge is right off to this direction, and there's a really interesting rock formation right in front of me. So what I'm thinking is I either capture just that rock formation and part of the sky, or I capture that rock formation, the sky, and part of the foreground. So what I'm searching for here is either interesting rocks or interesting rocks and trees, sort of as leading lines so that I can incorporate a little bit more than just the background. So some foreground and some background. And I don't have much time. That light is fading fast as the sun comes down, so I have to make my decisions quick. So it'll either be something like this, or something with a deep foreground like this. So I'm gonna look around and find the most interesting shapes in the foreground I can, while making the main focus stay on the rock formation in the background. And I'm gonna hope that as that sun starts to set, some of the color transfers to this part of the sky. Overall, not a bad place to spend the evening. Let's take a look at the final shot.
With the perfect clouds in the sky, this photo turned out excellent.
Shooting sunset is really nice, but it also means that you're probably gonna be hiking back in the dark. So a headlamp is always a good idea.
The Red River Gorge has so many great photo spots and activities. From climbing to hiking and kayaking, there's never a dull moment adventuring in Kentucky.